He is the voice of TCU Athletics. Brian Estridge, joins us on 365 Sports. And right now, you don't care about anything we're asking you. Tell everybody what you're doing. This is exciting.
Hey, fellas, I'm sitting here. I'm waiting on you guys to call because I want to talk to Smoak and Paul. That's all I want to do all day long. And then my kid comes in out of the bullpen for Air Force against UNC Wilmington, throws one pitch, and the phone rings. I'm like, oh, perfect timing.
we could push you back a little bit if you want us to.
No, we're all good. Let's talk some hoops. We got a big one tonight.
Yeah, and TCU probably coming off the momentum of winning in Waco, that triple overtime game, and they just kind of keep doing their thing. How have, in your opinion, they held up to what is the sledgehammer of the Big 12?
You know, I think for the most part, the record kind of speaks for itself. You know, very similar to Baylor. I think it's so hard to win on the road in this league. You got to hold serve at home. Frogs are able to do that in their last outing against Cincinnati and get the 18-point win. And so, you know, I think you're going to have some stumbles in this league. We know that. Look at Kansas's record. Look at others around the league. So you just got to kind of do what you can do. And so if you're showing improvement, and I think that's what Jamie's fired up about, the fact that defensively they've gotten better. And if you're showing improvement, I think that's what they want, and that's what he's looking for, and that's what he's gotten so far.
Brian, you know that they lost a lot from last year. You thought of scoring and how they're going to replace this, but they have seemingly not missed a beat. They don't seem to be that much of a different team with this new roster all year long. And I thought that, you know, losing Miles and losing what they've lost over the last couple of years, that would maybe set them back a little bit. But they've really built a very deep roster, and they get a lot of contribution from the bench, which you can't say about some of the even better teams in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think that the fact that you've got, 10 guys, which is essentially what they are, they'll go 10 deep, that are interchangeable. You know, Jamie likes to say he has 10 starters, and they are, able to kind of play any game you name. And I think that's been real effective for him. And so, are the guards as good as what you had last year with Miles and Damian Ball? I don't know. They're different. Avery Anderson from Oklahoma State, Jameer Nelson was a real scoring guard out of Delaware. And then, of course, you got Trey Tennyson out of Texas A&M Corpus Christi, who's the second best three-point shooter in the league. They're probably, that combination, and that's what he's been doing. He's trying to find that combo that works every night. And so I think that's been good for him, and I think he benefits from a lot of veterans too. He went out and he got some guys that have played a bunch of basketball. And, they always say in basketball, you want to get older, right? And if you can stay old in basketball, you can be successful. And right now they've been able to do that. And I think it's paid off for him.
I was at the game, the triple overtime game at the Foster Pavilion, and Nelson, who, of course, his father was really good, he at times can take over a game at that position. I'm not saying all the time, but is he kind of the dog when things are going?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's a guy that you're right. I mean, he's a score-first point guard. That's the big thing that the Frogs have to overcome is, Jamie likes guys that like to distribute, that like to pass first, but, he's a score-first point guard that they've had to adapt to. And so I think that the fact that you've got you got him along with Anderson, who also likes to score, it's a combination of, okay, which one of these guys is going to think pass first tonight, and that's who's going to get the majority of the rotation. But hey, if you can get points out of that position, there's nothing wrong with that either, Ryan. And so I think that's kind of where TCU stands. And they've tried to find that combination as we talked about with the guards, but also find guys. They're going small at times with Jacoby Coles at the 5. They've been without Ernest Uday the last couple of ball games. Again, a luxury to be able to go 10 deep. I know Baylor's bench not as deep right now, and so. The Frogs have to take advantage of that tonight. They've been able to run, get out of the fast break. Obviously, they don't like to hold the basketball very long, and so hopefully that's to their advantage if you're a TCU fan.
Brian, it's what we've always talked about, Gary Patterson and Baylor, a marriage. I mean, it seems like it's been inevitable for a long time. He's quite oftenly spoke very rosily about Waco and everything down here. So obviously this should come as no shock. But honestly, when you got that news, did you almost fall out of your chair?
I'll never forget. I picked up the phone almost immediately and called Smokey. Smokey took the words out of my mouth. He answered the phone with "Hell has frozen over." That's how he answered the phone. I was, shocked is probably not the right word for it, but I mean, hey, it's an opportunity for both of them to I guess it kind of puts everything aside now. At this point, isn't everybody even? Baylor's got Gary Patterson, TCU's got Kendall Browse. Let's just wipe the slate clean and move on from here and just say this is college basketball or college football today, right? That's just what we live in the world.
Well, how helpful do you think he can be to Dave Aranda's? And I know, so obviously he did a little bit of work there with Sark in Texas, but Dave's got a lot on his plate right now, Brian, that's for sure. So, it seems like a brilliant move, rivalries aside.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, let's face it. This guy's he's got a great defensive mind. I don't think there's any question about that. And he will be helpful. I mean, he sees things that other guys just don't see. And so, I think he's going to be fabulous for him. I mean, he's a defensive guru, and I think if that's his focus and that's what he's zoned in on, I think he's going to be, I think he's going to be real good for Baylor. But I think that folks will obviously circle that game on the schedule in Waco, and it'll mean a lot to a lot of people. But let's face it, it's got to get done between the lines, and that's what the Frogs have to take care of. And but it's going to make for fun. I'm sure we'll talk that week prior. You know that.
Oh no, we'll do that. And now, is this he was fired basically, has to move on, and has a statue and all that. So he goes to Texas where he used to own them. And now he's at Baylor. He owned them, and TCU has even when he left. Is this one of those things that's kind of a little bit of bitterness on who he wants to go coach with?
Yeah, I think I don't know when Joey's going to hire him at Tech. Maybe it'll be 2 years. I'm not sure, but and he also. Hey, I will give him credit though. He also goes to those two schools when he knows he doesn't have to come to Fort Worth. Both times TCU has played Texas on the road, and TCU plays Baylor on the road. So that was a smart decision as well. So let's just face it. I mean, you coach in a league so long, you build those relationships with coaches. That's who you know, and they know you, and they know your skill set and your expertise, and so of course he's going to be he's going to be a guy that they look upon as okay, he can help us. And so knowing the league and that familiarity I think is huge, and so I can't blame Dave Aranda 1 second for making that move.
Do you think that this is kind of what he's going to do, is be a consultant at this point in his career?
I think he'd like to be a head coach again. He was real close on the Houston job. I think he would like. I mean, that's not based on a conversation he and I've had. That's based on I know how he is, and I know how coaches are. And coaches want to coach; they want to be head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he thinks he still has a lot to give to the game, to give to athletes. So I think he wants to be out there. Now, I think he's also smart enough to not take any job. I think it's got to be the right one and the right fit. And getting an opportunity at Texas, now an opportunity at Baylor, you get to go through the car wash, as they say, right? Now, whenever guys go to Nick Saban, they go through the car wash and get another chance. Maybe this is the car wash that he needs, and he gets an opportunity to become a head coach again.
Brian, I was looking at got Combine coming up, 6 Frogs. I mean, it's obviously not going to be like it was last year, which was just a banner year in every way, shape, and form, but 6 guys is still pretty healthy. Of the 6, Jared Wiley, Amani Bailey, Josh Newton, Andrew Coker, Brandon Coleman, Millard Bradford. Who will TCU miss the most next year, and why?
Jared Wiley, I think to me is just one of the better. You guys know him well from Temple. I mean, I just think he's a terrific tight end. He's a prototypical NFL player. He was a great leader in the locker room. He bought into what Sonny Dykes was selling at TCU, and from day one, and talked about his experience here. I just think that is an NFL player. Obviously, Amani Bailey was productive as a running back. Those 2 offensive linemen were terrific as well for the last several years. But to me, Jared Wiley's a guy that you just look at and he stands out, and you go, okay, that guy right there. Going to make a lot of money on Sundays, and I'm looking forward to watching him too. I really am, because I do think that even though the Frogs used him a lot, I just think he's a guy that could be used more, and he's just got a skill set that lends itself to that league. And I think he's going to be a special player, and I think he's going to make folks in Central Texas really proud.
How did your son finish the inning?
They got out of it, baby. 3-1. Air Force still leads UNC Wilmington, so they put him in a tough spot. Telling you, Smokey, you can't do that. You throw that freshman in there with 2 guys on and nobody out. But he got out of it.
But he got out of it.
I need a scouting report. So say I'm going to dig in from the right side of the plate against baby Estridge here. What am I seeing?
From Estridge, what are you seeing from him? Well,
Yeah.
you got a 6'3", 220-pound hard throwing righty coming your way. So he throws a slider and a four-seam fastball. So just be ready for that.
Where in the hell did he get 6'3" from? How?
Smokey? You've been to have you never met our UPS guy? I thought you did.
Stop. Hey, right-handed 6'3". Pitchers are getting taller and taller the last 10 years, man. You got guys 6'7", 6'8", 6'9".
Oh, I know. They're huge.
They're getting. Hey, there was also a note. Kendall Cowd, who covers Baylor basketball, had this note about Baylor donor Bob Simpson, who is now also doing a lot with TCU Athletics. I think he's contributed a lot of money for Kaz Kazadi. Yeah. So give us a little background on that story.
Yeah, 7 figures, and it's because of a partnership that he has with RevFit, which is a revitalization group here that does a lot of work with TCU Athletics. And so, yeah, I thought that was pretty neat to see his name as part of this. And it's a real cutting edge facility that TCU is building, and it's a recovery center essentially out of practice. When you walk off the field, you'll go through. We were talking about the car wash earlier. That's kind of what you go through. You go through cold tubs. You're walking your way through the whole time, and you eventually end up in a snow room. And you're literally sitting in this cold room that produces purple snow.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, Smokey, you and I were in one of those in Vegas, but it was totally different.
Different situation.
It was not like it was a totally different situation. Yeah, the clientele was a little different, but no, this is it's going to be neat to see how it works and see the difference that it makes. You know, everything's about nutrition and recovery and all the resources that people throw at student athlete well-being, and I think that's what this is all about as well.
Brian, thank you, man. Good luck with your son, and also have a great broadcast tonight. Brian Estridge, voice of TCU Athletics tonight, TCU Baylor at 8, ESPN, and then also watching his son for University